The wind howled a wicked tune through the barren branches of the oak tree at the end of the cul-de-sac. 10-year-old Leo shivered, pulling his flimsy black robe tighter around his small frame. The plastic scythe felt impossibly heavy in his hand, a stark contrast to the lightness of his Halloween bucket, now brimming with a final haul of chocolate bars and lollipops. The streetlights flickered to life, bathing the scene in a sickly orange glow. He was done. The last house, the one with the crazy jack-o'-lantern display and the full-size candy bars, had been a perfect end to the night. He turned and began the long walk home, the brittle autumn leaves crunching under his sneakers. He was ready to get out of the scratchy Grim Reaper costume his mom had bought him from a pop-up Halloween store. The scythe was a pain, the robe kept getting tangled, and the mask was the worst part. A cheap, molded plastic skull, it smelled faintly of stale chemicals and trapped his hot breath, making his face slick with sweat. He'd kept it on all night, wanting to stay in character, but now the fantasy was over. He pushed open the front door, the bell jingling a welcome jangle. The warmth of the house washed over him. "I'm home," he called out, his voice muffled by the plastic facade. "How was it, sweetie?" His mom's voice came from the living room. "Did you get a good haul?" "It was awesome," he replied, his voice still a distorted echo. He dropped the scythe and the candy bucket on the floor. He lifted his hands to the sides of his head, feeling for the elastic band that held the mask in place. He found the band and pulled, but it didn't give. He tugged again, harder this time. Nothing. A small frown creased his brow. He tried to pull the mask off from the chin, gripping the bottom edge and yanking upwards. The plastic didn't budge. He could feel it pressing against the curve of his face, the bridge of his nose, the indentations around his eyes. A bead of sweat trickled down his temple, tickling his skin. "Mom, I can't get it off," his voice a little more strained now. His mom chuckled from the living room. "Oh, stop it. You're trying to keep the fun going, aren't you?" "No, really," he insisted, his heart beginning to beat a little faster. He pulled harder, his fingers scrabbling at the edges of the mask. The plastic felt slick and unforgiving. He could feel the slight give of the cheap material, but it wasn't enough. It was as if it was fused to him. His mom emerged from the living room, a mug of tea in her hand. "All right, let's see," she said as she set the mug down on the end table and approached him, a smile on her face. "You must have gotten it caught in your hair." She reached for the back of his head, but paused when she saw his hands trembling. The smile faded from her face. "What's wrong?" she asked, her voice softer. "It's stuck. It won't come off," he said, the words now a frantic, muffled whisper. She took a gentle hold of the mask, trying to pry it from his face. She pulled at the sides, then the top, then she tried to find a seam, but there wasn't one. The elastic band was still there, but it seemed to be a part of the mask, not a separate piece of material. The mask was a single, solid piece of plastic that covered his entire face, and it was firmly attached. She pulled and pulled and pulled. Leo cried out as he felt a sharp, burning sensation on his cheeks and forehead. "Oh, sweetie, I'm so sorry," she said, horrified. "It must have gotten stuck on the glue or something." She ran to the bathroom, grabbing a bottle of hand sanitizer. This might help loosen it. She dabbed the liquid along the edges of the mask where it met his skin. The alcohol stung his skin, a burning sensation that did nothing to loosen the plastic. He could feel his skin reacting, becoming hot and itchy. He pulled at it again, and this time he felt something else. A slight give, a stretch, a sensation that wasn't like plastic at all. It was softer, more pliable, like it was flesh. He yanked his hands away as if burned. "Mom, it's not plastic anymore. It feels like something else." His mom didn't hear him. She was already on the phone, her voice an anxious murmur as she spoke to the emergency operator. "My son's mask. It's stuck." "No, he can't get it off. It's a Halloween mask." "Yes. I don't know why. It just won't come off." As she spoke, Leo stumbled toward the large, ornate mirror in the hallway. He needed to see. He needed to understand what was happening. His reflection stared back at him. The grinning skull was there, exactly as it had been all night. But as he watched, the edges of the mask, the places where it was fused to his skin, began to change. The slick, shiny surface of the plastic seemed to blur and warp. The rough, molded lines smoothed out. The eye sockets, once simple oval cutouts, began to sharpen and hollow like real bone. The jagged teeth became pointed, almost needle-like. He lifted a trembling hand to his face, touching the surface of the mask. It wasn't hard and cold anymore. It was soft, yielding. It was warm. He could feel the faint beat of a pulse, a slow, thrumming rhythm that wasn't his own. It was a faint but steady beat coming from the mask. His blood ran cold. The mask was alive. He stared into the mirror, transfixed with terror as the mask's face began to move. The jaw creaked open, the molded mouth twisting into a grotesque grin. The lips parted, and a low, raspy whisper crawled from behind the plastic.
I'm here now.
The voice thick and filled with a chilling, triumphant glee. Leo squeezed his eyes shut, shaking his head violently. No, you're not. That's not my voice. The mask laughed, a low, rattling sound that vibrated against his cheekbones.
No, it's not. It's ours now.
He opened his eyes and looked back at his reflection. The eyes of the skull mask were not empty anymore. They were filled with his own terrified green eyes, but the expression was wrong. The eyes were wide with panic, but the mouth of the skull mask below them was stretched into a wide, impossibly sinister grin. He saw his own face, trapped behind a facade that was now a part of him. He was a prisoner in his own body. He heard his mom's frantic voice behind him as she hung up the phone. "The ambulance is on their way, honey. Just try to stay calm," she said. Leo tried to speak, tried to scream, but the mask wouldn't let him. The plastic mouth stayed in a fixed, terrifying grin. The voice that came out of it was not his own. It was the same low, raspy voice from before.
Mommy, I feel so much better now.
The mask whispered, and he felt his own body shiver in a way that wasn't from cold. It was the thrill of the mask's power. Leo felt a sudden, sharp jolt of pain, a prickling sensation that started at the edges of his face and spread inward, like 1,000 tiny needles. He screamed, but the sound was choked, trapped. The mask's grin stretched wider, the plastic, a thin skin pulled taut over his face. He felt his eyelids grow heavy as the mask consumed him, taking over his thoughts, his mind, and his very being. The last thing he saw in the mirror before his vision faded to black was the face of the Grim Reaper, a grinning skull, and now his own eyes filled with a cold, hungry darkness.